Hey, I want to point out very quickly, we've got a guest who will be joining us, commenting about some of these clips from various people at the convention in just a moment. That would be Steve Millington. He is the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. But I also have this. I do need to remind people. On Thursday, some areas will have temperatures in the triple digits, and we've been telling you all summer long about heating and cooling and, Ramsey Heating and Electric in Rupert. And in fact, once we get through the next couple of weeks, though, we'll see the temperatures likely taking a nosedive headed in the other direction, which is a reminder, of course. Then it's time to transition from air conditioning to your heating unit. Call the pros at Ramsey Heating and Electric today. The team at Ramsey's, they'll make sure it's done right the first time. Problem-free, cozy winters are found at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You can call 678-0459. That's Ramsey Heating and Electric. They sell warm winters and cool summers. I was referencing Rudolph Giuliani earlier, known as Rudy, I guess, to friends. This is Mr. Giuliani speaking at the convention last night. I thought, from my own perspective, he had the most rousing speech.
And we say thank you to the Cleveland Police Department for protecting us. Thank you. We know the risk you're taking. And we say thank you to every police officer and law enforcement agent who's out tonight protecting us, black, white, Latino, of every race, every color, every creed, every sexual orientation. When they come to save your life, they don't ask if you are black or white. They just come to save you.
Now, he's going to pause it there, but I was not in Cleveland, but I get an idea that that was quite a popular speech last night. I'm also looking at my TV monitor right now. Sheriff David Clark is on the set at Fox News Channel wearing a cowboy hat today. I would not mess with that man. Steve Millington, there are critics now, Democrats this morning, who are saying Republicans are trying to politicize tragedy in this country by bringing all of this up at their convention. What's your take?
Well, politicize it. Give me a break here. If it sells, sell it. And frankly, there's an awful lot of people in this country who are disgusted with some of the things that are going on and the lack of attention. And one of them is the increase in can't find the right word, lawlessness that seems to be growing in this country. And the fact that the police have come under law enforcement people have come under so much fire the last 18 months, but it seems to be increasing lately. That everybody wants to pick on a police officer, and I'm no big fan. I'm not going to carry their banner and run up and down the street and yay yay yay, but they have a difficult situation. They can't win for losing. Most of what they do is determined by lawyers. Either the plaintiff's attorneys have filed suit against law enforcement because of some issue. They arrested somebody, they did something, they were out of line, whatever it is. And as a result, the county prosecutors and the state regulators have issued a whole list of guidelines that law enforcement officers have to adhere to. They have to follow this list. And you sometimes say to yourself, they don't use any common sense. Well, no, they don't. They can't, because they have this list of things that they have to go right down through from A to Z in order to keep from having some kind of plaintiff's attorney file charges against them for some oversight or whatever you want to call it. And so they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They would like to be the common sense, this is how we solve the problem kind of guys, but all kinds of regulations as a result of issues, of lawsuits, of all kinds of stuff, they don't have that privilege anymore. And so they have to walk a narrow line that most of us couldn't even find, let alone walk.
There's clip here from a liberal publication called The Nation. And the writer's a guy by the name of D.D. Gutenplan, which means his family was in the back of the line when last names were being passed out. And the headline is, "The first night of the Republican convention was a cynical exploitation of grief." In other words, my own party can't do that because we caused the problem. Therefore, how should these guys be taking advantage of us? We'll get back to this in just a couple of minutes. Got a break coming up.
Holy cow.
Save your call. Steve Millington in studio with us until 9 o'clock this morning. Also, Grant Loeb scheduled to join us after 9 o'clock news. Those things on the way with Top Story and Bill Colley on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We're at 64, looking for a high today. My computer says a high of 69. Clearly, something's wrong. That's October's temperature. We're looking for a high today somewhere.
How about close to 99?
Yeah, close to 99. Our guest is Steve Millington. He is here until 9 o'clock this morning. He is the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. I do want to mention my friend Dr. Eric F. Jones, though, if I could for a moment. Dr. Jones practices a holistic, systemic approach to wellness, and he's been practicing, 23 years now. Master's and doctoral degrees in marriage and family therapy. Dr. Jones uses methods of alternative healing, sound waves, intellectual cognitive self-regulation, naprathy, and naturopathy, medicinal herbs, and these help manage mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual challenges. He's accepting new patients. He's got evening and Saturday appointments available. He has 2 offices, both located in Twin Falls. His number is 731-7178. And I need to mention as well, Eric F. Jones, Ph.D., mental health and wellness therapist, is the name on Facebook if you'd like to check out some of his advice on his Facebook page. We've got 8:34. It is, I'm going to call it 65 now. Clearly, we are going to be moving up into the warm weather today, but that's on the way. Steve Millington is our guest. And, Steve, someone's been trying to reach you for about 5 minutes.
Let's talk to him.
You're on KLIX.
Something Steve was just talking about, the whole stupid scenario with the military having their hands tied is trickling down into the police. And the problem is the police are at a disadvantage even more than the military because they're easy to hate. Rarely do you see police unless you're getting pulled over or you've done something. So they're easy for people to start picking on. I got to say, Blue Lives Matter. And I love all the police that keep us safe. And I think we need to give them all a hug.
Hey, great for you. Thank you. That's well worth it. And you know, I'm the same way. The only time I do know, and I am fortunate enough to be called on a first name basis. Actually, in one situation, it was Mr. Millington, and I thought, holy smokes, I can't believe somebody's referring to by county sheriff's deputies. And I know several of them on a first name basis, and they have a very demanding, difficult job. And our caller's correct. 95% of us, the only time we ever see them is when we see those famous red and blue lights in the rear view mirror.
Cooperative with them. A couple of years ago, I was out with some friends. My friend Colonel Steve Heil, who's on the show occasionally as a guest, we got together with Steve and his wife for dinner, and it was St. Patrick's Day. Now we weren't we weren't like a bunch of stupid kids getting soused, but we just had a good dinner, and then we left to go home, and we were driving down the street, but all these street lights were on. We had a loaner car. It was an electric car, and I'd never driven one before, and I thought the lights were on. And we passed a funeral home, and Susie said to me, she said, "There's a police officer in the driveway there." I said, "Oh, yeah, I see him." About 2 blocks later, he pulled us over. And he walked up, and he looked in, and of course, he knew me. And I just shrugged my shoulders, and I said, "I think my lights are off." He said, "Yes, your lights are off." And I told him, I said, "I've never driven this car before." You know what he did? He said, "I think this is how it works." He reached in and turned on the lights for me. He said, "I'll give you a warning." And he said, "Take care." And that was the end of it. But I didn't sit there and give him any grief about pulling me over.
Nope.
And I told him I thought what was wrong right away. I didn't sit there and say, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
And maybe, wouldn't it be nice if somebody ever got pulled over and said, "I know I was speeding," but they don't do that.
Least of all somebody like me, me speed. What are you talking about? I wouldn't do that. So those guys do have, and Giuliani hit a very responsive subject when he addressed that thing. There is a huge majority of people in this country who really are in favor of a good, solid, well functioning law enforcement community. We want to have the opportunity to feel safe in our communities, and they are a big share of why that happens. Now, we can't exclude things like family upbringing and family values, good Christian values. Those things all participate and add to the overall wellness of our community.
Yesterday, there was a terrorist who attacked people on a train in Germany with an
With an
axe.
axe.
Every day we get up and there's a new story either of terrorism or police officers shot all over the Western world. And to say that this is not an issue in a political campaign,
It is.
a huge issue.
Yes, and it's going to get worse because the bad guys, the really bad guys, want to destroy our value stream, our structure, our support for, or our reliance on our regular law enforcement community to see to it that laws are upheld and enforced, and we're all comfortable and safe. If they can destroy that, then where do we turn? And the bad guys just get a free pass. They can go do anything they want to do, run over everybody.
You know, we have to go back to about 1968 when cities were burning and there were riots on the streets and you know what? American people want things to be calm. I truly believe we would prefer to have a calm and even if it's something you only see on TV because it's calm in Idaho, but they want things to be calm and at the moment they're not, and that frightens people. We'll have a short break and we'll get more of Steve's thoughts on that in a minute. It's 20 of 9, and I'll call it 66 now. We'll get a degree about every 5 minutes here that we're adding on to all of this. On our way to a very roasting day over the next several of them in a row. Grant Loebs will also join us just after 9 o'clock news. We have a caller waiting to speak to Steve Millington. Caller, if you stay patient, we'll get to you in just a moment. I just want to remind people tomorrow morning we have one of the members of Dr. Jonathan Tripp's office. He may be back already from his mission trip to Nicaragua, but we'll be talking about some medical issues tomorrow morning, and we can take your telephone calls if you've got an issue that you need addressed by one of the medical professionals when they're in the studio with us. Dr. Tripp's office on Fillmore Street in Twin Falls on the north side of the city across from the post office, still looking for new patients. And they can often see you on the very same day if you've got an issue. So I just wanted to share that with you. And also tomorrow morning, Raul Labrador will join us a little after 9:30. He's at the Republican National Convention, and he'll be telling us about what he's observing while he's there. You're up next, and you're on the air on Top Story on KLIX at 8:45.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Steve, I hope you will check with Judicial Watch for the list of more than 130 friends and associates of the Clintons who fled the country or pled the Fifth Amendment in order to avoid testifying in criminal investigations. And maybe you can get that list back to the Republican convention because Bill Clinton exposed himself to blackmail many, many times with all his out-of-wedlock exploitations.
You know, that's not funny. It's comical, but it's not funny. Hillary Clinton, I still am in complete denial of the FBI not charging Hillary Clinton. And it drives me insane. How could they possibly not do that? I have a good friend. Many years ago, we lived over in the Blackfoot, Idaho area. And we have not just one, but one particular good friend who is employed at the INL and had been for most of his working career. He'd been out there 45 years. And so he was there when it was the INEEL, and then it was changed to the INEL, and now it's just the Idaho National Laboratory. And he has a security clearance, obviously, reasonably high, not way over the top, but reasonably high. And in conversation with him in the last few weeks, he made the comment, at my security clearance level, if I had done any of the things that Hillary Clinton has done, I'd be in prison today. And I looked at him and I said, "You got to be kidding me." And he said, "Absolutely not. At my security clearance or security level clearance, if I had done a private email or if I had done any of these kinds of things or mishandled that kind of information," he said, "I'd already be in jail."
It's 8:46. Steve Millington joins us. He's the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. It's, I'm going to call it 66 still. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Another caller joins us, and caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Bill. I can answer your question real easy because there's a D on the end of her name, and she's got more dirt on the people looking at her than what she's done. This is the biggest problem we have. Our system is corrupt to no end. They said that she didn't have intent. I could give you intent in about 5 minutes. But, I think it's really funny that they are saying that we're politicizing problems. Talk about politicizing. Anytime something happens within 5 minutes, they're politicizing it. So at the convention, they bring up things that happened over the whole year, and we're politicizing it. It's the pot calling the kettle black, and it gets annoying after a while.
I want to point out, in fact, he brings up the fact that she's got enablers out there. This is Chris Matthews at MSDNC last night. Patricia Smith spoke at the Republican convention. Her son Sean, one of the 4 dead at Benghazi, and she still says Hillary Clinton is responsible for her son's death and lied. Well, Matthews claims, no. The woman of the dead man is the liar. Listen to this.
She had nothing to do with it.
Now, he's talking about Hillary Clinton as he defends her.
Yeah.
She had nothing to do with it. Even if all the arguments about the PR afterwards, as Gene pointed out, are true. Worst case scenario, she didn't give a straight story afterwards. That had nothing to do with the death of great ambassador over there. I don't understand why the Republicans would choose to put this on primetime television when they have such wonderful stories of American heroism to speak to the American people. I think it was wrong. I don't care what that woman up there, the mother, has felt. Her emotions are her own. But for the country and choosing a leader, it's wrong to have someone come up there and tell a lie about Hillary Clinton.
And Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, lies every morning.
Every day. And there's nothing we can do about it. She gets a get-out-of-jail-free card.
And this guy's defending her.
Yeah. It's just almost, it's difficult to comprehend. How in the world can we be dealing with these kinds of things? It's just ridiculous.
10 minutes now away from 9 o'clock. We have another caller with us. Caller, you're up next on KLIX with Steve Millington and Bill Colley.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I want to tell you a true story. I got a brother that owns a Bradshaw Auto Parts chain store in southern Utah. He was selling satellite dishes, the big ones that you put outside. And he got a call from a lady in Salt Lake City and asked him if he could fix a satellite receiver that had a problem with it. And he said, well, you send it down and I'll take a look at it. And it was the FBI sting. And they sent him a major board for the satellite dish, and it had been changed. It had a chip put in it to receive satellite signals free. And he didn't know about it. And it was a sound problem that it had, that one of the chips had gone out on the sound, and he knew how to fix it. So he put a new chip in there on the sound and fixed the board and sent it back. And they filed charges against him for working on a illegal board that had an illegal chip in it.
And Hillary walks.
Yeah, Hillary walks, and this guy just doing the job. And how would he have known?
And he corrected the problem.
He fixed the problem, and it makes you wonder, And our caller brings up an interesting thing. The law enforcement community is getting a horrible bad rap, and most of us, the only interaction we have with them is the traffic stop. And that's probably a good thing. We don't want it to be any worse than that. But when you look at things like the FBI and the get out of jail free card that they handed to Hillary Clinton, then what am I supposed to think as just Joe average guy on the street? If we have a class caste system in this country, and that if I'm high enough up on the food chain, I can do anything and get skate free. But at my level, no, I get stung on everything. And so immediately I begin to say to myself, I can't trust any of these law enforcement officers. They are all in this together.
Now, last night I also watched. Well, I've seen the video of Trump when he came out to introduce his wife, and the lighting. You see him silhouetted.
Yeah.
And this morning on MSDNC, the program is Morning Joe. They were all snickering about that, and I thought, well, yeah, but in 2008, Barack Obama went to Denver, and they had him stand behind or with Roman columns behind him, like he was Julius Caesar or someone. And that was okay, but Trump with the lighting showing him coming out with the silhouette, that's tee hee hee, that's funny, and that's
Yeah.
again, it's just the double standard here. We were talking off air, and I said to Steve, I said, if Jesus Christ himself got the nomination of the Republican Party for president, the liberals would find fault with that, so they could try to put their girl in the White House.
Yeah, that he would be unacceptable for whatever reason they come up with, and one of the things in a telephone conversation this morning that I had coming into the studio, how did Trump get to be where he is? If there's so much angst and so much discord, how did he win the necessary number? Because the people are frustrated. They're angry. They know that there is an establishment system in place, and they are tired of it. They want it changed. And my comment was, well, do you think there's going to be enough of those people with that attitude come November that they'll vote him in? And he said, it's not going to get better. The establishment bearing down on us poor folks, that is not going to be changed. It's not going to get better between now and November. In all likelihood, it will continue its downward trajectory, and more of us will become more angry between now and election time that the little guys are just nothing more than stepping stools for the big guys.
And the next step in this Black Lives Matter is cities burning, and that'll convince people to throw over the Democrat Party overboard. We've got another caller with us. You're up next. You're on the air on KLIX. Steve Millington is our guest.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I know they've got body cameras now for some of the police officers. My question is, do they have body armor, or is that something that they have to apply for through federal funding to keep our police officers safe? I'll take my answer off the air.
Actually, we're going to talk a little bit about body cameras in the next hour with Grant Lobes, because he's got some strong views on body cameras for police officers.
And I don't know. I do think that all law enforcement officers do have the Kevlar vests.
You know, they bought them special armor in Cleveland for the convention, and the police union president says they bought that. No one did anybody's sizes. They just went out and bought a bunch of these things.
Oh, dear. One size fits all.
And apparently that one size does not fit all in Cleveland. They all look like Drew Carey. At least the police union president does. We have another caller with us. It's 8:55. You're on the air with Steve Millington and Bill Colley on KLIX.
Good morning.
Good morning. I didn't watch the convention last night, but I got the Cliff Notes version. One thing that the Democrats are going to be Democrats. Chris Matthews is going to still talk about Obama and have weird things running up and down his leg and all sorts of goofy feelings for everyone, so he's discounted. The thing that bothers me is these never Trump people. They're still clamoring about
Mike Lee being one of them, we should point out.
Yeah. The thing is during the primary season, the majority of people voted for Trump. He got the 12, 36, 37, whatever vote delegate count. And so I don't understand, why are these never Trump people still crying?
Steve, we'll toss that to Steve.
Gee whiz, thanks. I get all the easy ones, huh? You know, two phrases. Number one, the victim mentality, and number two, the entitlement mentality. And I think that many people on the Never Trump platform view themselves now as victims of this insurrection that Donald Trump has orchestrated. And so they now have pictured themselves, rightly or wrongly, they picture themselves as a, quote, victim. Whereas before, if they were part of the establishment, they were the victimizers rather than the victims. And so they have a difficult time accepting the fact that most people in this country do not like the establishment.
No one likes rejection, and that's what that's like.
And that's that, to a major point, that's exactly where they are. They lost. I watched the sound clips on the a challenge for the roll call vote on the rules committee, and if they'd had a roll call vote or on the rule situation, they wanted to change the rules so that the committed delegates were free to vote however they wanted on the first ballot. That presents some interesting questions. Unfortunately, there's only one paragraph or one sentence in the Rules Committee report that we even look at, and that's the one on release all the delegates and let them vote however they want. Have any idea what that would do to a presidential campaign in 4 years? Why would I even go out and campaign and make myself known and get this broad acceptance when all I have to do is cater to 1,200 delegates and be elected?
By the way, very quickly, we got about 30 seconds. Picnic coming up on August 10th.
August 10th, picnic, City Park, 6 o'clock. We have got absolute commitments from Senator Crapo and from Brad Little. No commitment yet on the other state constitutional officers. We have commitments on Legislative District 23, 24, 25, and 26. So there's going to be a lot of good elected people there. And our county officers, don't let me overlook them. They'll be there also.
And Grant Lubbs is coming up next after news at 9 o'clock on KLIX.